Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome. Here we go. I have to ground myself first. I've been doing everything but recording this podcast, and it's all I've been thinking about since this morning. Okay, let's go. Hi, guys. Welcome. Welcome to A Lot on Purpose, a podcast about a lot of everything. Let me turn on my Do Not Disturb here. Hi, guys. Welcome to A Lot on Purpose, a podcast about a lot of everything. I'm Kayla. I'm your host. I am the voice, the visionary, and the mess behind it all. I told you guys in the past 2 episodes that I had a roadmap, a nice little compass of season 1, and I warned you it was going to get derailed. I don't think I told you in my last episode where I was going with the next one, but I did get derailed. This episode, since it is May, today is, what's the date? Recording date is May 19th, 2026. It is 11:51 in the morning. I have a client coming at 12:30, so I want to be very intentional about the things that I do share here in the next few minutes. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's like I am almost avoidant until it's too late, but I just woke up today with the urge to share a few things, and yeah, this past Sunday was the Cleveland Marathon, Cleveland Half Marathon, and the full marathon ran right past our house. It was it was such a cool thing to be on the sidelines this year. But listen, I never ran a full, and I don't think I ever will. But last year I trained for, let's see, I ran the Cleveland half, and I want to say it was like I woke up on a random day in February last year and decided I was going to train. I ran in like 2014 and 2015, I ran 4 half marathons in 1 year and burned myself out. And I kept saying, I'm like, these wheels are retired and I'm never doing this again. But 10 years later, I found myself needing something to give me discipline, and I needed like something to conquer for me. So this whole race weekend is what brings me to filming this episode. All of the emotions came like flooding back to me of why I ran the marathon last year and what cause, and the partnerships and charities and all the things. So I didn't think I was going to be filming an episode so deep so quickly, but I guess I will just dive right in and rip that Band-Aid off, because the deep is who I am. So, okay, let's see. I'm sure I just touched on this, but I have my bullet points here to keep me on task. So I put why this episode, and why now. I just said May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the Cleveland Marathon. Last year I ran the half. Check, check, check. And I do have some resources that I feel could genuinely help someone. And I like to use my voice. I like to use my platform to share. And yeah, my intention for this episode is, first things first is I do have to say I am not a mental health professional, and I do want to say my heart is in the right place when I share some of these things, and I hope they come across that way. I don't ever want anyone to say, Kayla said this or Kayla said this. Like, I'm just sharing some of my personal experience, a teeny tiny bit of my personal experience and things that I've learned in the past few years on my journey and all the things. So, yes, I am not a mental health professional. I am someone who cares deeply and wants to share the resources and the people that have genuinely helped me. And if one person hears this and knows where to reach out for help, um, or if they use this as a resource to reach out for help, then this episode did exactly what it was supposed to do. I hope. So let's go back to the marathon quickly. So last year it was like this sudden urge. I woke up on a Saturday morning. I was like, I need something, I needed the dedication, I needed the discipline. It was a month into my sabbatical and I just needed something to like get me out of bed every day. It was the depths of winter. It was like February of last year. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I know it sounds insane. And I said last episode I wasn't going to use that word. This this whole process is learning for me. Great. Okay. Spontaneously signed up for the Cleveland Half Marathon. And when I was signing up, I was looking for when you sign up for a marathon or a race, you have to choose a charity or a foundation to kind of partner with to raise funds for. So as I was going through the list of partners, I did not see any foundations that serve the mental health industry. So I was like, okay, let me think about this. So I picked up the phone and I called 988, which is the suicide prevention and crisis hotline. And when they picked up, I shared my intention quickly. I said, I don't want to take your time away from someone who could be calling that needs your help and guidance. So please send me in the right direction. So he did. And I wish I knew this gentleman's name, but I kind of went back and forth with him about I am running the Cleveland Half, and I would love to use you guys as like my charity partner if this is something you're interested in. And the first person I talked to sounded excited. Second person I talked to sounded even more excited. And that was it. It was the beginning of a beautiful partnership. I wish I was like a committed runner because I think after the half they did Akron and I hope they did it this year. But yeah, so I will say it was like the most fulfilling thing I did last year. One of the most fulfilling things I did to start my sabbatical journey was just I share every day. I think it was just like, I'm sure people were like, oh my God, what is this girl doing running every day in the dead of winter? But it was like, I didn't care what other people thought. It was like truly posting a glimpse into my running journey. It was just for me. And this is like something that I used for me, as an embodiment tool. And runners, and I will say this because I witnessed a lot of it this past weekend and even just watching some content on TikTok and stuff. A lot of runners use races and things. And this is no shame, no shade, no judgment, no nothing, but and I think this is with any sport. Like people use these things to like run from something. Um Running is such a great like mental health tool. And the way that I used training last year, I told myself, like I set the intention from the beginning. It was like, I'm not going to run to beat a time. The previous 4 that I ran, I was like, I'm going to get under 2 hours. I was dead set. I never did. I think it was like the first one I ran, the Cleveland Half 2014, was record breaking humidity, which was like this past weekend. But I ran in like 2 hours and 14 minutes. I did a run in Chicago, which was my best. I did that in 2:04 or 2:05. And then I signed up for a trail half marathon, which was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And that was like 3 hours. And I think after I ran that, I was like, okay, it was the week before the Cleveland half or the Cleveland marathon. I was like, I'm just going to do the Cleveland half and see if I could beat 2 hours. And still, I didn't, but whatever. I did them. I got the medals. And I think it was like a way in the past, for me, it was a way, it was almost like an escapism. Um, it was something that I used to like run away from my problems. And fast forward to this past year, it was something that I did to run with my problems, if that sounds right. Um, it was like the first year that I was like, okay, if something aches, I'm going to stop. If I'm tired, I'm going to let myself be tired and walk. If I feel something in my body that needs to be felt, I'm going to feel it. It was like the first time I was having like attunement. I hope that's the right word. Like attunement to my body instead of pushing past something. Um, yeah. Okay. Anyways, so I back to the partnership with Frontline. I created like, since, my business is Feel Beautiful with Kayla, I created like a tiny little club. It was like me, my friend Janet, my friend Britt. They both crushed that marathon, like smoked me in the dust, but it um we were all raising money and awareness for the same thing and for mental health purposes. So I, I just called it Run Beautiful because it was Run Beautiful to me was running for the ones who couldn't find their way out of the darkness anymore. We had lost a friend last year to suicide. I have lost a family member to suicide. It is, I'm sorry, this it should be a trigger warning, and I'm so sorry. Um, I, I did. It was like every year, every day that I ran, it was like that was my intention was I'm running for the ones who can't anymore. I was running for the ones who got so tired from running from their own problems. Oof. I never said these things out loud. Um, all right. So back to this. Let's see. I put on here, I ran so you aren't alone and know that you never have to be. And through that process, I don't know how much my team personally raised, but they sent me a letter in the mail over the summer, and it was like the most beautiful thing. It said, thank you so much for kind of like kickstarting that process and helping them raise $5,000. Like that was amazing. So I'll touch on like 988 and Frontline really quick. So, 988, I have already said this. 988 is the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. If you call, so here in Cleveland, if you call 988 or Cleveland or surrounding areas, if you call 988, Frontline Service is the organization. Those are the ones that actually pick up the phone. I think when you call, like I could be totally wrong in explaining this, but when you call 911, like the dispatcher answers in your jurisdiction. Again, my words could be so wrong, but so if you call 988, your jurisdiction, Frontline Service is the organization that answers the phone. So Frontline Service, let's see, just so I can let's see, Frontline Service. I just want to read word for word off of their website. Okay, so Frontline Service, our mission, Frontline Service is a private nonprofit organization that reaches out to adults and children in Northeast Ohio to end homelessness, prevent suicide, resolve behavioral health crises, and overcome trauma. You are not alone when you are experiencing a crisis. If you go on their website, there's like so many resources. And I do have to say this, like, you do not have to be the one experiencing this crisis to call. If you have a loved one that you know is experiencing any of this, or someone that you are worried about, if you call them, they will guide you on what to do. I know this because I have done that before for someone else. They have also helped me through some crisis, and I'm going to save I will touch on more of my personal experience, but I'm going to make this about them and not me today. I'm going to try my hardest. So, let's go back to that. So, yep. Okay. They are the mental health version of 911. It is a totally free resource, 24/7. You can call or text from anywhere in the US. It is for anyone struggling, or, like I said, the loved one, family member, friend who can also call to receive guidance. Cleveland-based nonprofit. They are in Cuyahoga County. They answer when you call. Suicide prevention, trauma support, mental health care. They are real people who offer real help right here in our community. You can find them at frontlineservice.org. Okay, so that was a plug for them. They're an amazing organization. I had met with Carly. I don't believe she's with them, with the company anymore, but she was such an amazing, like, beautiful soul that we had so many great conversations throughout this whole process. Okay, so this part now I want to touch on is for friends and family, just like for friends and family of someone who knows someone that is struggling, someone who let me just read what I wrote here, because I don't know if I'm like articulating some things clearly without my notes. So I will say this too. I will set another intention for the friends and family, for the friends and family of the loved ones struggling. I will set this intention. Sometimes we want to help even when our cup is empty. And what's that saying is, you have to put the mask on before you can put the mask on someone else. Like, you have to make sure that you have space. And if you don't, that's okay. You can just let someone know that you see them, hear them, and you're sending them love. All right. Anyways, getting derailed. Back to the notes here. So, sometimes we notice something is off with someone we love but don't know what to say. And a lot of people avoid these conversations because they have the fear of saying the wrong thing, and it keeps us silent. Just know that showing up imperfectly is always better than not showing up at all. When you can approach someone in a way that makes them feel safe, respected, and heard, they will absolutely be more open and honest about what they are going through. I'm sharing this because it's happened to me, and it's happened to me time and time again where I listen, I am very vulnerable with my story and my past. And I do think some people have projections about the situations or the low points that I've been in the past. And it's like, it's a fear, right? Like the fear of saying the wrong thing, or the fear of hurting someone's feelings, or the fear of triggering someone in a way. Just know that if you lead a conversation with genuine heart and curiosity and compassion, that person you care deeply about might open up more. Some people will say, well, they don't, they're private, or they're deep, or this, or they're private, or they don't share, or they don't tell me anything. Well, I'm going to be honest right now. Check yourself. Check yourself with how you are approaching that conversation. If you're leading with toxic positivity, if you are okay. I think I just went off on a tangent because I triggered myself. um, just lead with compassion. Empathy is something that cannot be taught. Um, this little message right here goes to the people that are struggling. I want you to know that there are people out there that care about what you are going through. There are people that care, and they might not be in your life right now, but there are people out there. There are people out there who are also struggling. There are also people out there that can help you. And what I do want to say right now is some people do not have capacity to understand the things you are going through. And some people will never have the capacity to understand what you are going through. But that does not mean that someone does not care, and that someone is not out there to help you. So, a message to someone who is struggling with anything: keep going. Keep going, please. Help is there, and help is available. I would like to share like a lot of resources within this episode and future. Hopefully I can just create a document after this, because I only have such a short time to record right now. Um, but I did like, those things are truly coming from my heart. And I say them because I wish someone said them to me at one point in my life. Okay. Let me go back to this. So, back to the friends and family. Some examples of things to say is, try saying, and this should not be in a group chat. This should not be in a group setting. This should be something completely private. So the person you are asking does not feel exposed or embarrassed or shame. Um, Try saying, I know I've noticed you seem a little off lately. How are you really doing? That is coming from a place of genuine curiosity. And if it's a text, I don't know. If it were me, like I would just pick up the phone, but sometimes people don't want to talk on the phone. And if you don't have space, again, totally understood. But okay. Okay. Try. I'm here. No judgment, just listening. Try checking in more than once. Sometimes people aren't ready the first time. You may change someone's life simply by how you approach the conversation. Again, empathy, compassion, and curiosity. Leave out the toxic positivity. The worst things you can say to someone is, it could always be worse. It's not that bad. Try pushing through it. Just push through it. Why? Just don't be sad anymore. Oh my goodness. Sometimes the one who is struggling doesn't even want answers. Like, you don't have to try to solve their problems. You don't have to fix their problems. Something my therapist, Lori Brady, had taught me. Lori, that woman changed my life in so many ways. Lori was my therapist for my talk therapist for, I want to say 4 years. She truly walked alongside me through some of the most intense chapters of my life. A quick little story on how I met Lori. So, this actually is funny because my last episode when I talked about Elsa, I I met Lori through my first salon job. I used to cut her daughter's hair, like both of her daughter's hair. She would bring her daughters in. Her daughters knew me as Elsa. I know that they watched that news segment because they told me so. It's so funny. So when I had my twins in 2021, I was terrified of developing postpartum depression. So I worked with a psychiatrist through my pregnancy because I did have, again, a whole episode for another day, but I did have, is it prepartum? Prepartum depression? Um, Sorry, I do sidetrack there. I had depression during my pregnancy, and the psychiatrist I was working with did want to medicate me, and I did not want to be on any anxiety medication throughout my pregnancy. But um, the day of delivery, I was like, put me on something. I started Lexapro that day, and that psychiatrist, I worked with her for months, and it got to a point during postpartum where she was like, I am not going to continue prescribing this medication until I know that you have an appointment with a talk therapist. It's like, kind of loved that. Thank you. And in the referrals that she gave me, it was the name Lori Brady. And I'm like, what? Like, I know this lady. So, and I almost loved that we had a little bit of a relationship. And so when I had reached out to her, she even said, she was like, she's like, as long as you're comfortable with me, knowing some parts of your past. I said, heck yeah. Like it was just like luck, truly, fate, whatever you want to call it, luck, fate. She It was such an amazing fit, and she helped me through so much during postpartum and everything else that unfolded after that. So I would love to like give Lori her flowers in this episode and just say thank you. I will share I did text her before this and just say that I was using some resources that she had given me for this episode. Um, but because of her, I have found the courage to share pieces of my story. I found so much through working with her. Um, let's see. Lori helped me learn how to soften towards myself and meet my pain with understanding instead of shame. Talk therapy truly changed my life, and it can change yours too. It is funny, and I laugh. I say these things now as like I go to therapy now to talk about the people that refuse to go to therapy. um, like I have the tools to manage me, and I wish some people would go, but another story for another day. I want to say is something I do want to say is you don't have to have it all figured out to take that first step. And that is something that Lori had taught me. I kind of like why I'm here, right? Is you don't need to have that neat, perfect ending figured out to just take that first step of reaching out for help. Um, let's see. I hope I touched on some of these things. I hope some of them do create some small impact because truly, like, this is such a short episode to touch on so many important topics. And hopefully, I'll have Lori on in the future so she can share from like the clinical side of what to say, what not to say, how to help someone, and how to help yourself. Truly, like, that is the most important thing. And that leads me into my next part here that I want to touch on is what I want you to know as a listener and a part of my audience now is self-care is not selfish. It's not. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I feel like it's such a cliche thing to say, but it is so true. Like, one quick example of something that I do now for me is like, my kids get up at 7 a.m. every morning for school. My alarm is set for 6 a.m. so that I can get up, have my cup of coffee in peace, and do like a breath work, a meditation, a journaling excerpt, something for me to get in the right mindset before my timer client in 5 minutes. Something I can do for me before my day starts with chaos with when my children wake up. um Another thing I want you to know is not everything is always as it seems on the surface. That person that looks like they have their shit all figured out, the successful one who is crushing their goals and their dreams and their things, 9 times out of 10, that person is silently struggling with something, whether you want to believe it or not. I won't say 9 times out of 10 because that's a high probability, but the ones who are performing perfection, the ones who are performing success, the ones that are showing up day after day after day after day, they might be struggling with something. When you share your story, you get to write the ending. Something I learned is my story has gotten into the hands of a lot of the wrong people. And like I said, there have been a lot of projections. And this podcast, this platform is allowing me to share my story totally unfiltered, raw, so that whoever has been on the receiving end of the story, they can hear it coming from me. Next thing I want to say is you are not what has happened to you. You are what you become. You have the capabilities to rewrite your future and rewrite your story at any point in your life. And the last thing is healing isn't about becoming the best version of yourself. It is about learning to love the parts of you you once found unlovable. Let that land. Okay, I have 3 minutes left here. So I wish I didn't have to say these things so quickly. But okay, so resources. Again, 988, call or text free 24/7. Frontline Services can be found at frontlineservice.org. Lori Brady, the therapist, she can be found at loribradycounseling.com. And I will follow this up here with my manifestation to close this off. I am calling in the person who needed to hear this today. You are not alone, and help is always available. This is such a surface scratch of a lot of the stories I want to touch in, but that is a story for another day. So please share this with someone who needs to hear it. Anyone, like I said, pets, animals, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa, you never know who this perspective could help. You can find me at Feel Beautiful with Kayla on Instagram and at A Lot on Purpose. Call or text 988 anytime. I hope this resonates. I hope my voice was clear. And yeah, a little messy, a lot on purpose. I'll see you next time. Thank you.